So it's been a little over a week since I've done a video. I actually took my family out to San Diego to see my brother and sister-in-law, my niece and my nephew. Stayed in Ocean Beach. That's a beautiful place. San Diego is just absolutely incredible. We like to go out there as much as possible. Last 3 years with all the ups and downs and the business, etc., we hadn't been, but we're going once a year. So we'll get that continued back as we are starting to get things figured out and leveled out. The contracts are coming along. The upside equity endeavor is looking like it's very manager heavy and not giving me a lot of flexibility on liquidity or protection of myself in the endeavor. So we're reviewing that contract heavily, depending on what the partners come back with as far as their acceptance or agreement with some clauses that need to be entered into the contract to allow me to liquefy my position as well as protect my investment on the equity raise. If that is in agreement, then we will move forward. If it is not, then most likely I will not pursue this deal, which is really unfortunate. I am so excited to do this, but I think, again, the last endeavor that cost me over $1 million and counting, because I didn't have the right agreements in place and the right understandings and the right protections in place. I put in a lot of work and was not able to reap the pay due to a variable of reasons. And I'm not going to do that again. So that was a hard lesson, a very expensive lesson. But at this point, if it's not in writing, and even if it is in writing, guys, people don't have to pay you. You can sue them and go through all those things. But once you get into litigation, it's a pain in the ass. But most importantly, just to make sure that all the partners are on the same understanding as far as what the consequences are if they don't fulfill their end of the agreement and comply with the agreement that has been set forth by all parties. And without having that very clear and also very direct about what is expected and what is required and what will happen if those things, those contractual obligations are not met, is very important. And I think it sets everybody on a clearer page from the get-go, because it is scary signing these contracts. They can seem mean and malicious, and when reading the contracts, you have to remember to take out the emotion and look at the logic, and look at as many sides as you possibly can. And really, you're just looking at these contracts to see, like, if things go bad and this person wants to destroy me, what protections do I have? And that's what's important to you, how you decide whether it's a good contract or not. Again, the current deal, not a great fit for me at this point, because it is very one-sided and doesn't allow me a lot of options, even though I'm contributing a substantial amount of participation here by raising the $550,000. So that's the one contract. The second contract is the operations agreement for the automotive dealership. Almost through that entire contract, and everything looks great in there. A couple things that I would change and a couple things we need to add clarity on, but about 2/3 away through that. Once I get to that, through that, I will meet with my partner. We will, adjust things and voice our concerns or lack of clarity, understanding things like that, to clear up that draft. And then my attorneys will review it for the final draft, or not the final draft, but the final review. Then we'll review it again. And then as long as we're in agreement, we'll go ahead and get that thing signed and moving. So again, that building is up, is rocked, ready to go. There is some rehab that we'll have to do, but at this point it's, hey, we have the building. We are starting to align the resources, which, again, holding off on doing a lot of that, having very small, just potential conversations at a very generalized potential level, because I have not signed an operations agreement yet. So do not move, do not spend a lot of energy before you have that operations agreement signed. And now my partner has moved a lot before this operation agreement is signed and signed, a lease and filed things, etc., as well as I have filed things. However, all the things are in his name except for the dealership, right? So the lease is in his company's name, his holding company's name, which he'll lease to me. Again, he's the investor, so he's putting forth that risk, which is fine. But at this point, I don't own anything except for the name to the LLC. Once we sign the operations agreement, I will be a partner in the investment monies, which will be due to be repaid as a preferred unit, preferred member, preferred stock. Those members always get paid first, or typically that's how they are. But that's a repaid investment. But then I will be entitled to that investment money to utilize towards the company as the managers see fit. So that's moving swimmingly. Very excited about that. So ready to jump. Like I'm like a wound up spring. And once the operation agreement's signed and everything is finalized, I'm going to go to the frickin' moon. So you guys are going to get some exciting updates here as soon as that goes. We should have that fulfilled this week is the objective. And then once we get that done, the signage should be up this week. Signage is required to file for the dealership license. And so once we have the operations agreement, the signage up, we'll file for the dealership license. That can take up to 30 days, but with my record and my background, it should be good. I've had several FBI background checks for other licenses that I hold through FinCEN in the financial world and other areas, so I can't see any issues on that. So hopefully that will expedite the approval process, and then the minute that license is approved, business will begin. I will blow up the phones. I will invigorate all the relationships that I have. I will open up old relationships, call all of my vendors. We will begin setting up schedules for vendors to come and service the cars, etc. So it's going to get hot real fast. I love it. I'm excited for it, and extremely hopeful and opportunistic about all the things moving forward. So again, with the equity raise agreement, that's not great at this point because it is very manager heavy. It's very one-sided. Doesn't offer me basically any means of liquidity. Don't ever want to do a deal like that. I should be able to exit when I want. There should be contingencies in place. I understand timelines and repayments over 5 years and things of that nature are pretty typical, but there is no buyout clause in there. There is no liquidity clause, clarity on how to liquefy. It's basically just up to the manager of the company to decide when I can liquefy, and I'm not in on that. So we need to look at those and get those things reviewed to see if we're in alignment there. If we are, then boom, we're moving on that deal, and I'm going to go start raising some money. And then again, with the dealership, we are moving full steam ahead at good pace right now. So excited for both of those things. And again, message of the day after all that rant, one, to keep you updated, but two, and most importantly, is make sure you do your due diligence. Wait, I understand that it's hard, especially for, like, if you're like me, I want to fire. As soon as you say go, I'm ready to go. But now what I realize is you've got to make sure that everyone is in agreement contractually, financially, spiritually, mentally, before you get going, because what you'll do is you'll run 100 yards and the ball will still be back at the 10. And if you do that enough times with people stop thinking you're resourceful and effective, and they will just see you as someone who does a lot of things and doesn't get a lot of results and doesn't have a lot of people on the same page. So remember that. It feels great to run forward and get all these things in line and get all the people excited, but if you can't deliver that through the end zone, the finish line, effectively and efficiently with positive results for all that are involved, you will not be seen as credible, and people will see you as a waste of time. So again, do your due diligence, be systematic, follow your processes, believe in yourself, and take your time to execute. Stay lavish.